Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited for this video because it's gonna be my first reading wrap-up. I felt like I could finally contribute to this trend. I don't know if it's a trend, but like this type of video, because usually I read like 3 books a month or less, but I don't know what happened this month. I stepped up my game and I read 6 books, even though some of them were like very short. Doesn't matter, I still read 6 books, so I felt like I could finally contribute to this video idea, and I'm really excited because I watch these videos like religiously on YouTube. Like whenever I find a new booktuber that I really like, I just watch all their reading wrap-ups so I can see what kind of books they read and what like ratings they gave the books, so I can like add things to my TBR or like take things off my TBR in case they didn't like them. So yeah, I'm very excited for this video. So yeah, I read 6 books in, wait, 2, 3, 4. I read 6 books, but I'm gonna count one more in because I started it in March, but then I finished it in April, so I'm still gonna add it to this video just cause. So there's like more to talk about, and I really wanted to talk about this book too, so that's why I added it here. Also, I'm gonna say I don't have all the physical copies with me right now, so I'll just insert a picture somewhere on the screen so you guys know like the cover of the book. First, we're gonna start off with Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. A funny story about this book is that I actually bought this almost a year ago at like a really random bookstore because I just wanted a book to read, and at that time I was like really like fresh into reading, so like I hadn't read any of Sally Rooney's books. I probably read like 4 books previously, and then I saw that there was a book by Sally Rooney and I knew that she wrote Normal People, so I was like, okay, let me just read this because I've seen like a lot of hype for Normal People even though I hadn't read Normal People yet, so I just got this book. Once I started reading it, I read like probably like 100 pages I guess of it, and then I just put it down because I felt like the book just wasn't like for me at the time, and I feel like I mentioned this in another video before, but yeah. And like the whole book as a whole, there's so much talk about sex, so I thought like when I started reading it I was like, maybe I'm not the target audience because I really don't care when people talk about sex in books, so I was like, okay, I was kind of put off by that. But once I passed the 100-page mark, I started really enjoying the book and the themes of the book and everything about it. So maybe I should explain what the book is about. It's basically about these 4 people, Alice, Felix, Simon, and Eileen. And Alice and Felix are like a couple, and Eileen and Simon are a couple. And Eileen and Alice, I know this is really confusing, this is a bunch of names. Alice and Eileen, they're the 2 girls. They are like best friends, and within the book you get like little snippets of their emails because they no longer like live near each other, but they still like are best friends, so they talk to each other a lot. So their emails are basically about like politics and like, it's hard to explain what they talk about because they talk about so much in their emails. But I grew to find that the email parts of the book were probably my favorite parts because I don't know, you just got to like really understand the characters of like Alice and Eileen like very deeply because of like what they're writing and like their like kind of moral dilemmas, and I thought that was really interesting. And even though I didn't find Alice to be such an enjoyable character, I really liked Eileen, so yeah, just hearing her talk was like really nice. I really like those chapters. And also like what I really liked about this is that one of the main themes is obviously friendship. Within that theme, I found myself relating to the friendship of Eileen and Alice, and I wrote like in my book that it really reminded me of me and my best friend. And I like sent her one of the quotes while I was reading the book, and I was like, this is just like us, I swear, because like it's so wholesome. I've seen a lot of people talk about like this book is just no plot, just vibes, and that is like a very good way of describing this book. So if you're looking for a book that's basically like very character based, I would highly recommend this book because it's just about the characters. So yeah, I did give this book a 4 stars. The next book I read, I don't have the physical copy of, but I'll put a picture here, and it's Love in the Big City by Sang-young Park. Yeah, Sang-young Park. Yeah, I gave this book a 5 stars. What's a funny story about this book? Basically, I bought this book when I was in Dubai, and I was kind of like really shocked to find this book because this book is about a gay man and his love interests, and how like he manages his love life living in Seoul and all that stuff. So I was like really surprised to find it in Dubai, which like, because they usually don't have gay books. So I was like, I'm gonna take this chance, and I bought it without like knowing any background information about it. All the books that I like used to buy, or like that I buy now, are heavily inspired and influenced by TikTok and like booktubers, like social media in general. But like that book was like the one book that I bought which wasn't influenced by anyone, and I'm so proud of myself for finding such a good book by myself. I feel like I should do that more. Like I feel like I'm too influenced by social media, and like I should just like stick to my gut feeling and like just pick up a random book that I've never heard of before and like read the blurb, and if it sounds nice, just buy it. And also it's a plus because the cover is so pretty. Like look at this. Look at this cover, it's so pretty. So yeah, I bought it not expecting like a lot, I guess. I was pleasantly surprised by this book because it was so good. As I mentioned before, this book is about our main character, whose name is Young, and his romantic relationships and how he deals with those romantic relationships while being openly gay in South Korea, which is still like a country that is not very accepting of the LGBTQ community. And you can see that in his relationships, that like some of his partners are not really open to be gay in public. And like I felt like this book was such an important read, and like I feel like more people need to read it because it's so important. The theme of gay love is so necessary to read about, because it's not the same as like those straight rom-com mushy gushy rainbow sunshine tropes, I feel like. And when I was reading this, I felt myself like connecting this book heavily to the movie Moonlight, and that's because I felt like these two perfectly depicted how lonely it is to be gay. I really don't know how to explain it more than that, because that's just like, it's such a like a heart-wrenching feeling to just like be lonely and be gay. Even though Love in the Big City I felt like wasn't as emotional and it wasn't as gripping as Moonlight, I felt like they still had very similar themes. Those themes being like secrecy and like guilt in your own identity and all that like deep stuff. I really like this book. Highly would recommend. I wish this book had more hype, so yeah. Okay, next we're moving on to probably like my most disappointing read of this month, if not of all time, because I've had this book on my TBR ever since like I got into reading like almost a year ago, and like now that I finally read it, I'm just like, why did I have such high hopes for this? I read The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I know that it's a classic book and like it's important in some ways, but like I don't care. Also, I'm gonna start off this section by saying that if you disagree with some of my opinions on like the books that I'm like talking about, it's okay. Like it's okay to have a difference in opinion, and I'm sorry, but if you don't like people like talking shit about your favorite books, I think you should leave now. I just really did not have a good time reading this book. I read it in one sitting just because I wanted to get over with it. I gave this book a 2 stars, even though there were like some good quotes up in the book, and like the fig tree analogy, relating that to mental illness, I really liked that part. And like the beginning of the book was like okay, but just like the book as a whole was so boring to me. I don't know, like I don't know what I was expecting, but I was just expecting like some unhinged woman like going crazy or like going insane, like in a way that was like similar to My Year of Rest and Relaxation. Even though I didn't really like My Year of Rest and Relaxation, I gave that a 3 stars, but I was expecting it to be like on that same level, because at least My Year of Rest and Relaxation was interesting. Like The Bell Jar was just like boring. Let me maybe talk about what the book is about. So basically it's about this main character, her name is Esther, who's like very successful. She's like young, and she moves to New York because she got like a really good job opportunity at like a magazine editor, something like that. And when she moves there, her mental health starts like declining. I don't know, like the premise sounds so interesting, also because it's like partially based on Sylvia Plath's like own life story. I thought it was gonna be way more interesting than it actually was, and we're just gonna ignore the fact that this book had so much racist language in it, because like I was literally like, my jaw was on the floor, because there was this one scene where Esther, she gets like moved to the mental hospital, and there's like lots of nurses obviously there, and like all the other nurses, she just calls them like nurse, like, you know, or like by their names, But then there's this black nurse in the ward, and then she refuses to call them by their name, and she just blatantly just calls them the N-word for like a whole paragraph. And it's just like, it was like this big of a paragraph, guys. I'm not even joking. Like when I was reading that, I was like, what the fuck? Like why is this like allowed? Because like this was written in like 1950 or something like that, and I don't care if it's supposed to be like we're supposed to like not like the main character, she's supposed to be like an unlikable bitch. Doesn't matter. It was so weird. It was so weird. Also, like in some parts of the book, when she's feeling like unwell, she would like refer to herself as like other ethnicities, basically talking down on other ethnicities. So like she would say that she looks like a Chinese man because she looks so yellow, like her face was so yellow. What? Why? Tell me why this is so highly recommended. Tell me why we are promoting this. Tell me why. I don't know. So safe to say that that was like the biggest disappointment of the month, if not the year so far. So yeah, 2 stars. But thankfully, after reading The Bell Jar, I went straight ahead and started Bunny by Mona Awad, which I literally could talk all day about this book because like this book was so good. I gave it a 5 stars. I was not expecting to give it a 5 stars. I was not expecting myself to get attached emotionally to these characters and this storyline and this plot and everything, but I did. Considering what this book is about, I don't know why I was so like, I literally cried at the end. It was so good, guys. It was so good. And like I was really apprehensive to pick this book up in the first place because literally the consensus that I see online is either you love it or you hate it. Like I've only seen like 1 or 2 star reviews or like 5-star reviews. Like there's no in between. There really isn't. So like I was scared to pick this book up and start reading it and then like hate it because I don't want to like waste my time on like such a thick book, especially after The Bell Jar. I just wanted a good like fun read. Yeah, that's why I picked up Bunny. So basically this book follows our main character who's, as I was saying, this book follows our main character Samantha and her best friend Ava. Samantha she's in this like really prestigious school, and like her and Ava make fun of this like cult-like clique in the school called the Bunnies, and they're like this like group of 4 girls who like call each other Bunny, and they wear these like pastel dresses and they're like really princessy and like really cute. Her like Samantha and Ava are like making fun of this group of girls, but like throughout the book we see Samantha joining the Bunnies and like kind of drifting away from her actual real friend who is Ava, and like all the shenanigans that comes with that. So yeah, I won't say any more because it's like you really need to experience the book for itself to like understand everything, and me explaining it would not give it any justice. I just thought that the twist at the end, I don't know if it's just I'm just really bad at like predicting stuff, but like the twist at the end was so good and like so like creepy and like eerie. Like once we like found out about the twist and like we saw, but once we saw like the truth, I was like, what the fuck? I was literally like, I had to like stop reading. I was like, what the fuck? Like after I finished the book, I also went on Reddit because like I didn't really understand. The thing is like I understood kind of like what the twist was, but like I didn't understand it like completely. And there's like this really big long thread on Reddit with people like discussing their theories about like what this book is about, and I thought that was so cool, and like reading everyone's theories was really really interesting, and then like forming your own opinion and adding to the thread. It's really cool. I really like that aspect of the book. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book if you like psychological horror thriller type books. So yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars for me. Thank you, Mona Awad. Okay, finally getting to the books where I have the physical copies of. Next, I read The White Book by Han Kang. This was a quick and easy poetry book. Actually, my first like poetry book, and it was like fictional poetry, which is like very interesting. I've never like read or like heard of anything like that, and it's basically about this main character who's grieving their deceased older sister's death because their older sister died when she was a baby, like before she was born, and how the color white always reminds her of that tragic event. And from the beginning of the book you can see that it starts off with just a list of just white objects or white things like salt, snow, ice, the moon, rice, waves, stuff like that. But then as the book progresses you get like poems on each of these things. I thought this was really interesting and I really liked a lot of the poems here. I think my favorite line here is, "Learning to love again is a long and complicated process," which like it so is. Like you're so right. Like learning to love life again is such a long and complicated process. It's so true. Thank you for putting it into words. Like, it was so good. I love this poem. It's called Black Writing Through White Paper. It was probably my favorite one from this book. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. 4 stars. Would recommend. Then the next book that I read was Nick and Charlie. This is like a novella after the Heartstopper comics. It's probably like a year after the Heartstopper comics take place. It's directly after like he graduates year 13 and like Charlie's still in year 12. So like it's him like talking about going to university and all that stuff. Their struggles and like how they're gonna manage like long distance relationships while Nick goes to college. Obviously, I had to give it a 5 stars. It would be a crime to give anything in the Heartstopper universe anything less than 5 stars, I feel like. Because Nick and Charlie, these characters are so dear and near to my heart. Like, I can't even explain it. This book, this novella, and it's not even like the words are so big. They're like this, and like half of the book there's just like drawings on each page, so it's probably like 80 pages if you like really think about it. But like the amount of times I cried while reading this, it's not normal, guys. It's not normal. I'm too emotionally attached to these characters. It's not healthy. I am so happy that I bought this because this is such a wholesome book. Their relationship is so wholesome. I literally can't get enough of them. I can't. And now I will read you my favorite quote from this book. Crying, screaming, throwing up, punching the walls. I remember the exact moment I decided to take it. Walking into my room after getting a glass of water to find Charlie curled up so beautifully in my bed. The orange street lamp light shining on his skin. And I felt like if I was going to die, this would be what I wanted to see last. Are you joking? You can't tell me that that's not the definition of true love, because it is. If you've read the Heartstopper comics and you haven't read this, read it. Read it right now. Read it right now, okay? 5 stars. 5 stars. The last book that I read in April was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. And I hope I did not just butcher that. It pains me to say this, but I gave this a 2.5 stars. I'm so sad that I had to give this a low rating because I bought this fully expecting to love it and like for it to become like a new favorite. I literally have the second part, but I don't want to read it because I didn't enjoy this. It sucks so bad. But yeah, basically this is about like a coffee shop, but like the customers in the coffee shop, as I was saying, like the customers within the coffee shop, they can go back in time. The only rule is that you have to get back before the coffee gets cold. Like the concept itself is really cool. Like I really love the concept. The main thing I got from this was like it was just very underwhelming and very boring, and it lacked so much depth. Like I was missing so much depth to all these characters because basically this book is very short. It's like 213 pages, and like it's split up into like 4 different like pairs. So the first part is the lovers, the second part is husband and wife, the third part is the sisters, and the last part is mother and child. And like each of those are like 60 pages. There's no time for us to like get attached to the characters before they go back in time. And like once they go back in time and like the interaction happens, it's like I don't feel anything towards the characters. Like sure, the emotional thing happens and I'm like I feel bad for them, but not that bad for them because I don't care about the characters enough to feel bad for them. You know what I mean? I feel like everything I just said made no sense. My favorite quote from the book came from the last chapter, which was Mother and Child, and it is, I don't know what I should do. I want my child to be happy. How can such a simple wish be so terribly scary? 2.5 isn't like the worst rating in the world, but like it doesn't mean I hated the book. I would just say that I was just like really disappointed. I would recommend it though. I wouldn't say that I would tell people not to read it because it's a nice story, but personally I just didn't enjoy it. So yeah, and that concludes our little April reading wrap up. I'm so happy that I read so many books. I hope to make more of these if I learn to read more and faster. Maybe this could be an ongoing series. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed making this video. So yeah, hope that you can stick around for my other videos. I really appreciate you guys for subscribing and liking my videos and all that stuff. So yeah, hopefully see you in the next video. Bye!